What's up, everyone? It's been a few weeks, but we're back. Tuesday Live, Tuesday Q&A. I'm here with assistant Chris.
How's it going?
He's going to be fielding some questions and, watching the comments and everything as usual. We're going to go ahead and address the sound in the background. We are having some work done on the basement right now, the future studio, and there's nothing I can do about it. We actually didn't even know that this work was happening today. Chris and I were working on a video for the channel, and Tele came up and was like, hey, the HVAC guy's here. It's like, didn't even know we had scheduled that, but all right, cool. So you're gonna hear some noise and stuff in the background. But yeah, as always, this is a Q&A live stream. We're gonna hang out, answer some questions, talk about playing, music, gear, anything you guys ask questions about. If you want me to see your questions or you want Chris to field one of your questions, you can do two things. You can @ at Rhett Shull in the chat, or you can leave a super chat donation. We really appreciate that. And also, we have a sale going on today. We're trying something new. We're doing a sale on the Nashville Number System course, and right now in the description box there is a coupon code. There's only 20 of them to get 50% off the Nashville Number System course. It's 50 today is the code?
50 today.
Cool. And once those first 20 are gone, you can get 25% off the number course with, what's the code?
Stream25 is the code for 25% off of Nashville Number System.
Yeah, and that'll go on as long as this live stream is up. So yeah, we really appreciate the support. I really appreciate the support checking out the courses. So yeah, let's get into it. Anybody have any questions here? What's the first one, Chris?
First one is from Mikhail, and he says, do you think it's possible to layer an electric bass on top of an 808 without it making it muddy?
Ooh, that's a good question. So yes. Here's how I would do that. It depends on what kind of mix you're going for, but if you have an 808 in there, my gut is telling me you want that to be most of your low end information and that sub bass information coming through. So I would let the 808 handle that really, really fat round low end, and then I would EQ the bass to be more of a texture rather than low end. In fact, I'd probably high pass the bass to maybe like 200, 250, really get a lot of that low end information out of the bass. And depending on what kind of bass sound you're going for, let's say it's more of a rock bass sound, like a P bass with rounds on it, I would give a little bit of a bump in the EQ, maybe around 2K, 2 to 4K, to get some of that nice like fat string noise coming through, that grind that comes off of a P bass with rounds. You could do that, or you could add some distortion to the bass, whether it be from a pedal like a fuzz or an overdrive, or if you're playing a bass amp, maybe you push your bass amp a little harder and you let that harmonic distortion, the extra harmonic information that's coming from the distortion, give you that texture and mix that on top of the 808. I would sonically, in terms of what you're playing, I would make sure you're playing the same thing on the bass. I wouldn't be walking the bass around on top of the 808, because I think you're going to start to get weird interactions with the 808 and the bass itself. So I'd keep it relatively the same part. So yeah, there you go.
All right, we got our first donation. It's from All Things Weatherly. It says, donation to the studio fund. Question, what console are you looking at, or have you narrowed it down?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you for the donation. I should point out that yes, every dollar raised today is going straight into the studio fund to buy some more drywall and insulation and lumber and all that stuff. Yes, so for those of you that don't know, we've decided to go with a console in the basement rather than a hybrid setup with outboard gear. Somewhat of a controversial decision, I think, actually. I've gotten some emails from people. All very supportive, but people, some people love it. Some people seem to be trying to talk me out of it, but we're doing a console. Right now, we're looking at 2 or 3 different options. If you go on Vintage King or on Reverb right now, there are 2 Trident 80Cs available. They're vintage. One is a 1987. The other is a 1990, which is cool. It's my birth year. The 80C is a pretty legendary desk. They're classic, punchy rock and roll sound desk. But with vintage desks comes a lot of maintenance, repair work. It's like buying an old car. So you need to know where was it used? Who serviced it? How often was it serviced? When was it serviced last? What is it going to need? How, is there a tech in town that can service the desk? So the other option we're looking at is going with a new desk through Sweetwater. We're partnering with Sweetwater to sponsor the Build video series on the channel that will be coming out probably next year. And we're looking at one of the SSL Origins, one of the new SSLs. The advantage there is it's a new desk. There's a warranty. It's less likely to have any issues than a vintage desk. By less likely, I mean it shouldn't have any issues. It's brand new. And so the reliability and the modern features of the newer desk, they take less power consumption versus especially an old SSLs. Old SSLs are known for being huge power hogs. They put out a ton of heat. And supposedly the new desks, the Origin consoles, are way better, way more efficient on power and don't put out nearly as much heat. You don't need a big machine room for all the power supplies. It's just a more modern console. So right now I'm leaning more towards the SSL Origin, but we shall see.
We got some more donations coming in. Thanks, Buzz Wilson. He says coffee/whiskey fun for you and assistant Chris. Appreciate the donation. We've got Persaska Zek. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Thanks for the donation, though. And then Bruce Butchert. He says, I have a showroom appointment in December at Righteous Guitars. Are they cool and let you play anything without standing over you?
Yes. Okay, so thank you for the donations. Assistant Chris doesn't drink coffee, but he does drink whiskey. So we will we'll have a dram after the live stream today. So you've got an appointment. Yes, they are cool. Yes, they will let you play anything. They're not going to hang over you, but Righteous is the type of shop that they're not Guitar Center, meaning you're not going to go in there and just grab something off the wall and go play it. And I'm so thankful for that, because when you're looking at the type of guitars and the stuff that Righteous sells, higher end, more boutique stuff, when you're spending that much money on a guitar, and they have more affordable stuff as well, which they treat the same way. But when you're buying a new guitar, I don't want to buy something that's been hanging on a wall for 10 months and has been played by a few hundred different people and is dirty and all beat up. So when you go to Righteous, they'll let you play anything you want, but they're going to get it down off the wall for you. They're going to take it over. They're going to make sure that the setup is right on it. They're going to make sure the strings are good on it. If for whatever reason the strings aren't good, they'll restring it before they let you play it. And then instead of sitting out in the big open room to play the guitar, the amp, or whatever, they take you into an amp room, which is so nice because it prevents the whole Guitar Center syndrome of walking in and hearing a cacophony of like 12 people all doing that kind of thing at one time. You're not going to have that at Righteous. So they're not going to like hang over you and bug you, but they're also not going to let you have free roam of the whole shop, which I am very grateful for. So yeah, there you go.
So this is an interesting question that I saw. I can't find who asked it, but I don't think I've ever asked you this. How did you get your first gig?
Oh, man. It's actually kind of an interesting story. Through Craigslist, technically.
Wow.
Yeah. So by first gig, I mean first paid gig to go out in the quote-unquote real world. It was a Buckhead bar gig. I had just... I think I had just graduated AIM, and I was staying over at a friend's house. We were having a party, and I woke up that next morning and thought, like, I'm just going to look. I don't know why I thought this, but I'm just going to look on Craigslist and see if there's any gigs in the classifieds. And sure enough, there was one, some dude, and I just emailed him. It's like, hey, man, I'm a guitar player. Looking back, I was probably too, like, eager. I was like, hey, just graduated AIM, here's my credentials. Basically sent him a whole resume, which it was a shitty Buckhead bar gig. I didn't do that. But I got an email back, and the dude was like, hey, cool. Gig is Friday. Show up at 10. Load in is at 10. We'll play till 3, and you'll make like $75. And there was no rehearsals. There was no nothing. And it was awesome. I played on that gig for like a year and a half with that guy. I would just get a call on like a Wednesday or Thursday. Be like, hey, are you free Friday and Saturday? Come play. I'm like, yeah. So interestingly, though, on that gig, I met a drummer named Aaron Johnson, who became a really good friend of mine. A few months later, Aaron was playing with a singer-songwriter in town named Carl Dillon, and Aaron remembered me from that night, called me because Carl needed a guitar player, met up with those guys, started playing with Carl Dillon, and that's how I met Rick. So Carl was getting his second record made and wanted to go to Rick Beato because Rick had just done all the Need to Breathe records. And so for that kind of sound, Rick was really popular at the time. And so that was the first time I ever went into a recording studio. It was the first time I ever met Rick. And we did Carl's record there. And then after that is when I went to Rick and GL and was asked for an internship, basically, if I can come in and start hanging out. But yeah, all of that came from one Craigslist ad and one gig in Buckhead.
Wow. So you literally just asked Rick, like, hey, can I internship here?
Yeah.
It's pretty bold.
I asked GL first because we had worked on Carl's record for 2 weeks. I loved it. I loved the whole process. I loved being in the studio. It was super cool. And then, when we were done, I just asked, like, hey, I would love to be around here and learn some more stuff. Can I come and, like, sweep the floors or something and hang out? They're like, yeah, just come down whenever you want. And so I started coming down 2 or 3 days a week just to hang out. And then a few weeks after that, Rick asked me to come on as, like, basically a full-time intern.
Wow. So you were just down there just, like, sweeping the carpet in there?
Yeah, single-handed. Actually, it was a pretty good internship because I didn't have to do any of, like, the shitty intern things that studio interns typically have to do. Like, I wasn't making tons of coffee runs and cleaning bathrooms and stuff. I mean, I was here and there, but literally, like, day one, I walked in there and he sat me down at the computer and I was learning how to run Pro Tools on a drum session the first day. So it worked out. It was cool.
Wow. All right, we got some more donations. Devin Doherty says, howdy, partner. I'm trying to settle on a last drive pedal for my board. I have an RC booster, an exotic soul driven, a Mythos high road. Thoughts?
Oh, man. Exotic soul driven. Okay, so the RC booster, I actually just got one of the new RC boosters from Exotic. They sent this out a couple weeks ago. And I played the white one, the previous one, a lot, but this is their new version, and it's pretty great. So shameless plug there. But RC booster, what was the other overdrive?
The exotic soul driven, and then the Mythos high road.
So you got the fuzz thing down with the high road. I don't think I'd put another drive on that board. I don't think you need one. I think with the RC boost, with the soul driven, and with the high road, I wouldn't add any more gain to that board. Maybe something like a Greer Lightspeed, but I kind of think that's redundant because you can sort of get into that territory with the RC. I'd save the slot. I wouldn't get another drive, and I'd get something kind of unique. I'd get the Argonaut, just the octave up from Mythos, the Mythos Argonaut, and I put that in there, and so you can have an octave fuzz, and you can also have an octave overdrive as well, which is super cool. So there you go.
Cool. We got some more donations. Jim Doach, he says, how many walls in your new studio, and are any of them parallel? What's the overall room size?
Oh my God. How many walls did we?
How many walls?
So Assistant Chris has been, we worked on the studio for 2 weeks, and you may have noticed a drop in video output on the channel this month, and that's because we were down in the studio or in the basement working straight for 2 weeks. So we're kind of playing catch up right now. But I don't know, dude. How many walls do we have down there?
At least one.
There's at least one.
Maybe two.
At least two. So,
but I mean, not many of them are going to be parallel at the end of the day, right? There's all going to be all kinds of little wonky angles and stuff.
Yes and no. So the control room and the ISO booth are completely separated from the rest of the house. They're framed like room within a room, floating walls and floating ceiling. So I mean, how many walls? I mean, a dozen or so. I don't even know.
Probably.
Dimensions
walls within walls and stuff. You know.
It's a lot of framing.
Yeah.
It's a lot. A lot of drywall because we're doing 2 layers of drywall everywhere. So anywhere there's going to be sheetrock, we're doing 2 layers with the seams opposing. So if you're laying the first layer horizontally, you do the next layer vertically, and that's to minimize, if the seams are crossing, they cross at a perpendicular angle. Dimensions, I want to say maybe it's going to be about 1,000 square feet when it's done. So I haven't measured,
Yeah,
and I don't know how to measure.
It's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah,
it's fairly big.
Yeah, but it's not huge.
No.
It's a nice size. It'll be a good size for you'll have a full band down there, the control room. You can hang out in the control room with everybody there. It's not going to feel cramped.
Yeah.
But it's not too big either.
Cool. Israel Garcia with a donation. Thanks. He says, "Hey Rhett, huge fan. Love the channel. I've noticed that Stephen Furtick follows you on Instagram, and as a praise and worship player, I was obviously jealous. How do you know him?"
I don't know Steven.
Oh, interesting.
My God.
He follows you though.
This is embarrassing.
Didn't mean to call you out like that.
I know, dude.
My bad.
Let's see here. I have to do this sometimes because you realize like, oh yeah, I did a gig with this dude like 6 years ago or something, but I actually don't think I know Steven. Sorry, Steven. Didn't mean to like throw shade at you or anything. I just don't know.
Also, I see some people commenting about the noise. There's somebody doing work downstairs right now. So
yeah. So if you're just joining us, a few things. There is a crew down in my basement relocating the HVAC in the house. So there's going to be a lot of noise in the background. And also, we're running a sale on the Nashville Number System video course. There is a limited number of 50% off coupons. There's only 20 available, and I think we're burning through them actually pretty quick. So there's a handful of those 50% off coupons left if you want to get 50% off the Nashville Number System course. Once those are gone, they're gone. If you're watching this later or you're watching it now, you can get 25% off the course with the code. What are the 2 codes, Chris? I can't see the screen.
The code is 50 today for the 50% off and stream 25 for the 25% off.
So there you go. Appreciate the support. Subi, what's up, man? We're not using green glue. We're not using green glue down there. We're just using construction adhesive. So, yeah. What's next?
So Wilson L, he asks, is a gigging musician a viable career to make a living off of?
Yes, absolutely. But I think it's changed a little bit. I think nowadays you have to be able to wear multiple hats. I talk about this a lot on the channel. I think 10 years ago when I started doing it, you could still make a full-time living. In a city like Atlanta, you could still make a full-time living bouncing between a few different gigs every week and do pretty well. You could have a church gig, you could have a few bar gigs, you could play for a wedding band, you could do all that stuff. Maybe you played with an original artist in there, whatever, and make a living. Now, post-COVID, it's a little bit more difficult, at least in Atlanta. There's not as much live music happening. You can still get into the church scene if that's what you're looking to do. There's still singer-songwriters and stuff around, but I think if you're going to make a viable living as a musician now, you need to have a few different hats that you can wear. So, for me, it looks like YouTube and playing with bands and recording and all that stuff. For you, it might mean teaching. It might mean, doing audio engineering or mixing or something. But doing something that's creative, that keeps you in the musical field and keeps you working, I would start developing those skill sets now so that you have opportunities to still work. Anything you can do that is in music and allows you to work with a guitar in your hand or something like that that's not just a regular day job, I think is a win. And that's being a full-time musician in my eyes. So even if you're not able to gig 7 nights a week, that's okay. There's other ways to make a living doing this,
Okay, so next question. Emilio Osa, he says, "Hey Rhett, I've been in the intermediate level forever, most known as the Twilight Zone. How can I get out of it?"
It's a good question. I feel like I've been in the same area too.
In the Twilight Zone.
The Twilight Zone. Honestly, it might be a good idea to take some lessons from somebody. if you don't have time or can't afford a full-time teacher, I still think it's worth taking some money and maybe once a month, once every 6 weeks, whatever interval you're at, and find a teacher online, do a Skype lesson or whatever. Find someone that you really respect, who's playing you really dig, and someone you want to learn from. Find several people, and go around and start taking a few lessons. For me, that's always been super beneficial. Once or twice a year, I'll sign up for a lesson with, whatever, one of my old teachers from AIM or Tim Miller or somebody like that, just to kind of have them assess where I'm at and then say, okay, cool, here's where I think you should go, and just kind of point you in a direction. I'm the type of player that if I have a direction to go and I know where I'm trying to go, I can get there pretty easily. But if left to my own devices, like I have been the past 6 or 7 months, I tend to not make big strides forward in my playing because I don't know what to focus on. It's almost like there's just too much to learn. There's too much happening. There's too much that I want to do. And I think it is a component of ADHD, but I think there's a name for it, like executive function something. Somebody in the chat can let me know. But yeah, like when you have a huge amount of work to be done or a huge task, it can be really intimidating to try and start on something. So for me,
like choice paralysis or something.
Yeah,
like too many choices and you just kind of freeze up.
Yeah, exactly. Or like analysis paralysis, where you're trying to analyze the best way to go and you don't really know. So for me, finding a teacher to kind of clue in with or check in with once a week, once a month, whatever that is, just to kind of keep you working and moving forward is a really good way to do it, I think.
Yeah. I feel the same way. You could look for a teacher. You could buy some video courses. Wink, wink.
Yeah, 50% off the Nashville Number System course.
No, but I feel that same way. Like ever since graduating from jazz school, which was obviously the best day of my life ever. I feel sort of like I've been floating. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I feel that same sort of thing. It's like for like four and a half years, I had this like straight trajectory of just like going up and like I knew exactly what the next step was, and now that I don't, it's kind of that same thing you're talking about, just being almost intimidated by how many different directions you could go, and you end up doing a lot less than you know you can, which can be frustrating.
Yeah. Todd McKinney in the chat says executive dysfunction. I think that's what it is. It's the same thing. It's like when you're on a regimented schedule and you have a goal and you have someone helping you along, you're going to make huge strides forward as long as you're putting the work in, right? A teacher's not going to help you if you're not actually putting the time in to do what the teacher's telling you to do.
Yeah.
But
no, for sure.
If you are putting the work in, that's really, I think, the best way to grow. And then, augmenting that with some things like video courses, like the Nashville Number System course, which is currently 50% off down in the description box below. Or no, like I've got some of the True Fire courses. Like I have Josh Smith's his improvisation course that I've been kind of chipping away at. I have Ariel Posen's slide course that I've been chipping away at here and there. And yeah, that's really it, I think.
And there's other ways too. I mean, I've found recently, like I haven't had a lot of spare cash to be, spending on lessons. So I've found that writing music with other people who are your friends that are not like, you're not paying session people to come and play with you, but writing music with people that you normally wouldn't, or, taking gigs that you normally wouldn't, like kind of trying to push your horizons, finding places to play that you normally would have maybe said no to.
Yeah, 100%. That's what playing with DEACON KNIGHT last year, that was huge for me. That's really the last sort of major step forward I've had in my playing was playing with those dudes, because it was that exact thing you're talking about. It was the, you're playing with people that are pushing you. They're better musicians than you, and you're in the room with them, and they're pushing you, and you're playing off of each other the whole time. Mm-hmm. That was huge. But yeah, being the worst one in the room is simultaneously like really fun, but also really terrifying and scary. But that's how it's good for you. Yeah, 100%. Matt Bennett says, "Can we give Assistant Chris a better name?"
I mean, Chris Assistant is technically my first name, so.
We could call you Jazz School Chris. We could call you Chris. I don't know. It's a dangerous game to ask the internet to give you a...
It is. It's a very... I mean, Jazz School Chris is okay, but I don't know how long that's going to last, you know?
Right.
Because I've already graduated.
Yeah. Well, you know what they say about Jazz School? 2 best days of Jazz School. The day you start and the day... It's like buying a boat. It's the day you buy the boat and the day you sell the boat. The day you start Jazz School, the day you end Jazz School.
Yeah, the day you pay off your student loans.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Thanks to Mike Chin for the donation. I have no idea what his comment here means.
Okay.
It says A/S/L ? I have no idea what that means.
I don't either. What does that mean? Is this embarrassing that we don't know this?
Maybe.
Is this a meme that we should know about? Oh, no.
I don't know. Okay, Noah Baldwin, thanks for the donation. He says, thank you for sharing your passion for music and guitar with us, Rhett. When are we going to get that Mythos collab?
Oh, it's happening. It's happening. So we've gotten a lot of questions the past couple weeks about Dipped in Tone. When is Dipped in Tone coming back? It should be coming back this week. We've got 2 episodes in the bank ready to go. And the new episode is actually talking about the pedal, the Mythos pedal. Actually, it's the Shoyles pedal. So that'll be coming out. And if you're not following Dipped in Tone, you should. Go look up Dipped in Tone podcast on YouTube. Give us a follow. I think we're getting up close to 10,000 subscribers or something like that. So yeah. Oh, good. Now we've got the description of what ASL means.
Yeah,
that's
great.
Great.
Embarrassing.
Wonderful.
We'll say it's American Sign Language.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
There it is.
So thanks for that, Mike. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Great.
Awesome. Apparently it's an old AOL chat room thing.
Oh,
so
cool.
You should have known that, man.
I should have known that.
You should have known that.
As the elder millennial in the room, I should have known that.
That's your bread and butter right there. Actually, Rhett still uses AOL chat room.
I do.
Yeah.
My status right now is I'm offline. You're too young for AOL Instant Messenger. Right?
I didn't use it. No.
Yeah.
No, I'm a little too young. I was born in '98, so.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Eat Goodness, for the donation. He says, "Keep it up, Rhett. Love the channel."
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
Here's a good one. Perfect. Matt Bennett says, "What will Chris be doing while you're in Germany?"
Oh, he's going to be here editing. So we're trying to bank up some videos so that we have some content to post while I am away, and it'll allow me to focus on the session, which is going to be really important. One of the downsides to having a YouTube channel is you're constantly worried about the analytics and checking in and seeing how videos are doing and subscriber numbers and all this stuff. And I want to check out of that when we're in Germany, when Phil and I are working on the session. I want to not be worried about YouTube or thinking about YouTube at all. So we're trying to do the work on the front end to get everything ready to go so that when I'm there, it's all going to be handled. And Chris is doing a phenomenal job is editing and helping produce a lot of the content. If you liked the video that was the story about my Saris J, story of my favorite guitar, that was Chris's idea. So we did that. So yeah, he's going to be here editing. So we're bulk filming a lot of stuff right now that we're not editing. We've got 2.5 videos in the tank right now, something like that. 1.5.
It's an embarrassingly low number. That's how much.
Yeah, we're kind of behind the ball, but he's gonna be here editing, working on stuff, and then I'm gonna be shooting some footage in Germany that I'll upload that he'll be editing and working on here. So, and he'll be watching Penny for us, which is great.
Which is gonna be fun. It's gonna be amazing.
Oh yeah. What's next?
So I can't find the exact question, but I remember seeing it earlier. Someone was asking about how to approach playing without a backing track. They say they feel pretty comfortable, like if they've got a backing track or a looper, but how can they perform just by themselves? What are some tips for that?
Ooh.
Or maybe even just solo by themselves.
Well, that's actually not something I do a ton in terms of solo guitar stuff. Most of my approach to guitar playing is layering it or fitting in with an ensemble. So fitting in with a band or other instruments, things like that. I don't typically do a lot of solo guitar performances. Chris does. Was that? Do you have any advice to throw there?
Yeah, I guess I do. So I do a lot of solo, like jazz specific gigs, mostly for private events and weddings and restaurants and stuff. But I mean, I guess depending on what style you're playing, so maybe to kind of get around that, I'll just say if you're soloing, if you're taking a solo unaccompanied for whatever reason, maybe you're playing with your band and it's a cool moment and they're like, okay, everyone drop out, which kind of feels like you can get left out in the cold. But I would say just know the chord progressions inside and out, know the triads that are going on, know like functionally how the song works on a deeper level than having to hear it. Because you need to be able to kind of hear it before you play it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Anyways.
Cool.
Kind of a rambling answer, but
no, it works. That makes sense.
Justin Shu says, "What kind of guitar are you holding?"
Yeah. So this is my Driftwood Titlecaster. So there is actually a whole YouTube series that Driftwood Guitars made about this guitar making this. This is the first Titlecaster that Chris and Matt down at Driftwood made, and it's a beautiful instrument, man. I mean, look at the burl on the back of the neck there. So if you're not familiar with Driftwood, they are primarily a acoustic guitar company. It's a gentleman named Chris Alvarado down outside of Destin, Florida, who I've actually known since I was like 16 years old. My family used to go to the beach down in Destin every year, and Chris is an amazing musician and artist who would gig around town down there. And so I got to meet him and got to know him back in 2005, 2006, and that's when he started building acoustic guitars, and his acoustic guitar company, Driftwood, has blown up. If anyone's not familiar, you should go look them up. He's known for building beautiful instruments, and he only builds like 10 or 12 guitars a year, completely by hand. They're amazing. And earlier this year, Driftwood started their YouTube channel. So it's Chris and Matt, and they are crushing it. I think they're like 24,000 subs now, 25,000 subs. Yeah, they're doing a series of acoustic guitar reviews right now. Have you seen these? Where they cut the guitars in half?
No, I haven't seen that.
Dude, it's great. Somebody in the chat, Tele just posted it in the chat. You can find their channel there. But so Chris Alvarado from Driftwood is a mastered luthier and acoustic guitar builder. And they're doing a series now where they're buying acoustic guitars from the major manufacturers, and they're doing a complete comprehensive review on them. So much so that he's literally taking a Japanese handsaw and cutting the guitar down the side like this completely in half. Wow. So that you can get a clear picture of the inside of the top and the back and sides. You can see the neck joint and everything. And it's been a bit of a controversial series. A lot of people get their feathers ruffled over people cutting guitars up, but I think it's great. It's really, really good. So everyone go check out Driftwood guitars. This guitar is called the Titlecaster. This is their first electric model. It's a Tele-esque guitar, but it's got a really unique neck bolt system here on the back, and it sounds great. So yeah, Titlecaster.
Yeah. So apparently we have not fixed the audio crackling issue.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Okay, then you know what? It's not on our end. It can't be on our end.
It's got to be on YouTube's end.
It's got to be. So yes, we've had this issue, and we changed the setup around here. We consolidated everything. So the audio crackling can't be.
I mean, it could. It still could be.
I refuse to believe it. It's not our fault.
Okay. Oh, here's something. So, Sparse Jane, he says, I know triads in the entire neck, but when I go to improvise, I just go blank. I'd know where the triads of the chord behind is, but I'm unable to make licks with it. This is actually a really good question.
That's a really good question. Okay.
It's like knowing the grammar without knowing any actual like sentences or stuff to say, you know?
This is going to sound like a kind of a cop-out answer, but I think it's the best answer, which is like, it's just going to take time. It's just going to take time to develop your chops and your vocabulary as a player. You know, I'm not a great improviser, but I'm a much better improviser now than I was 5 years ago. Much better. Just because I've done it more. And because I've worked at it more. I've transcribed more solos. I've learned, you know, more phrases and tried to work them into my playing. I've listened to a lot more great improvisers. I mean, listening to a lot of like John Scofield, for example.
Well, that's where it is. Like, it's not, well, the time is part of it. And like with time, those things will incorporate more. But you just said like you've been transcribing more, you've been learning more phrases, you've been listening to stuff you wouldn't normally listen to. Like that's the secret right there. Like if you have the theory down, then you know the rules you can play with. But like you just need something to say first.
Yeah, it is kind of like speaking a language, which is such a cliche thing to say. It's like, oh, music is the universal language. But when it comes to this kind of thing, I think it is right. Like it's a similar process in the brain. You're generating an idea, and then you're trying to take that idea and put it out into the world. But instead of using your voice and words, you're using an instrument to do it. So yeah, takes time, takes a lot of listening, takes learning what you want to say and how to say it.
Yeah, I think we've solved it.
There you go.
The crackling is the sound of Rhett's beard growing.
That's exactly
what it is.
Yeah, can you see that?
Figured it out.
There you go. It's not as impressive as Paul David's beard, but it's the beard I was given. So.
Oh, here's a question. Wilson L says, for assistant Chris, do you plan on writing original music?
Do you?
I do, and I am. So, I've been writing music. I've been writing music for years, and you know, not pushing it too hard because it's been going through a lot of different processes, you know. But I'm writing stuff.
Yeah.
Rhett's seen.
Yep.
I've been writing like string arrangements and stuff recently. So that's cool.
You brought are you doing the cello session here today?
No, I've got a cello session like at like 8:00 tonight.
Got it.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's cool.
Yeah, he's writing, and that's another thing I imagine he's gonna be doing while I'm in Germany. Is I told him use the studio space, use anything you want. So
using all the nice mics.
Yep.
All right, Knight BBT. He says, "What's your favorite amp?"
Ooh, it's either the FTR 37 right here, or the RSA 23. The divided by 13's right up here. I'm a big fan of Fred Tacone's work. Fred's the gentleman behind Divided by 13. I talk about their stuff a lot on the channel. In fact, I did a podcast last night with the 40 Watt podcast. And Philip from the 40 Watt podcast has a Divided by 13, and we were waxing poetic about how great those amps are. So if you're not familiar, so the FTR 37, the white one right here, that's essentially, it's a 6v6 American style amp. It's it kind of does all the American things. It does the blackface thing. It does the tweed thing really well. And then the RSA 23 is Rusty Anderson's signature amp. And this is kind of like the quote unquote ultimate British amp. So it'll go from AC30 to high watt kind of vibes. And then the click channel on the right gets very, very martially, very quick. It's fantastic. Let's see here.
We got a donation from Joel Morris. He says, do you have any advice for 12-string players?
Oof. Advice for 12-string players. Man, I try to get on with 12 strings and I just can't. There's something about them. I don't know if it's the style of playing or just the sound, but I don't get on with 12 strings that well. I think if you want the 12 string sound, the way I would go about doing it now is track with your regular guitar and then track with a Nashville tuned guitar. Double track with 2 guitars, a Nashville and a regular, and do that for your 12-string sound. That's what I would say. Sorry about the background noise. Again, if you're just joining us, we've got some work going on in the basement right now. Nothing I can do about it. And if you're just joining us, we have a few of the 50% off coupons left for the Nashville Number System course. It looks like there's only 2 or 3 of those left now.
Yeah, and the code is 50 today.
Yeah, so if you use 50 today at checkout for the Nashville Number System course, you'll get 50% off. And then you can get 25% off the course by using code
Stream25.
Stream25. All right, let's see here. What we got next?
So Marco Marconen, he says, "Hey Rhett, do you write lyrics? And if and also, do you have any like heroes in the lyric writing realm? Do you have any favorite lyricists?"
I don't write lyrics. I think because I don't really have anything to say lyrically. I've tried a few times, and every time I've tried, it's just felt completely disingenuous and weird and forced, and it's just not me. Now I've been on co-writes before where I've suggested lyrics or I've like made suggestions, but it was stuff that was already there that I was like tweaking. I do have some favorite lyricists, namely Taylor Goldsmith from Dawes and Jason Isbell from Jason Isbell and the 400 Unit. But yeah, those 2 guys were the 2 artists that made me really appreciate songwriting. For a long time, I was the type of, musician that would, I don't care about lyrics. I just listen to the music. It's about whatever the band is doing, man. That's what's cool. I don't care. You could be singing about whatever and it doesn't matter. And then I started listening to Dawes and had a very eye-opening experience from Taylor Goldsmith's writing. And then similarly with Jason Isbell. Go listen to Speed Trap Town by Jason Isbell and tell me that lyrics don't matter after that song. So yeah.
What drive pedal are you using right now?
Hey, Paul Davids, what's up, man? We were just talking about you. I talk too much. Shred me some harmonic minor. Do you know who you're talking to? Harmonic minor and shredding are not my vocabulary. Right now I'm using the AxeFx 3, and this is just one of the Dirty Shirley profiles on the AxeFx. There you go. Nice little delay in the background. Does the thing. It does the thing.
Glass slide or metal slide?
Yes. Both. It depends on the sound I'm going for. So this is my my signature slide from the Rock Slide. This is a brass, like an aged brass. These are available, by the way. And it's sized to fit on either the pinky or the ring finger. More recently, I've been playing a lot on the pinky. I tend to like brass better than glass. This is a glass version. It's a smoother sound. Glass is definitely smoother. Also never play slide in standard tuning. It's always open E or open D. But yeah, if I had to choose just one, I would go with brass. Because to me, it's a nice balance of the metallic sort of sheen that you get from like a steel slide or a chrome slide, but it's not as bright and harsh. It's a little warmer than that. and it's not as sort of smooth as a glass slide. I really only use glass on electric, but if I'm playing resonator or something like that, it's always a brass slide. Let's see here. What's your best advice for slide? Start with an open tuning. So I'll go ahead and throw this in open E quickly. I would start with open E for a few reasons. One, your bottom string stays the same. So all of your notes on the low E string are the same. So when it comes to identifying where your chords are, for moving through like a 1-4-5 progression, it's way easier in open E because you don't have to do the math and transpose in your head. It's also pretty easy to tune to. As you can see, I'm basically there. And for playing electric slide, a la, Dwayne Allman or, Sonny Landreth or Ry Cooter or any of those people, a lot of those songs are done in open E or open D. And if you're not familiar, open E and open D are the same tuning, quote unquote. They're just, open D is a whole step down. So you can get into that Dwayne kind of thing pretty easily. Get a little drive going here. So yeah, I'd start in open E, and I would start with your 1-4-5 progression. So there's your 1 chord, your 4 chord, your 5, back to 1. And you can get a minor pentatonic sound really easily just by targeting that 3rd fret right there. You can bounce between the open strings and the 3rd fret and kind of immediately sort of sound like you know what you're doing. So yeah, the other really important thing with slide, especially if you're playing with a lot of gain, you're playing a lead sound like that, is muting in the right hand. So if you notice, I'm not playing with my pick, it's all fingers, and I'm only picking and playing the strings that I want to hear. Now you can get a really messy, sort of sloppy sound if you want, right? You can get this kind of like, turn it and mute the mic, but like that. Right, but generally for more of your kind of traditional Dwayne Allman or whatever lead stuff, you want to have a lot of control over what notes are being played and what aren't. And so a really good, I talk about this in a beginner slide video that I made last year, but a good exercise to work on this is in an open tuning like that, and you just go. So what I'm doing there is on the 2nd string, I'm playing from the 3rd string to the 2nd string and then sliding up a whole step. But what I'm doing is as soon as I land on that 2nd string, on that B string, I'm using my thumb to mute the G sharp or the G string. So you're not hearing the 2 strings at one time. You're not hearing that. I'm only hearing one note. Sliding up a whole step, working on your intonation. And then I'm doing the opposite. I'm muting the 2nd string, and I'm playing the 3rd string and going down a whole step. Sliding back up. So it sounds like this. And you can do it on different string sets. So on that one, I would only go up to like the sus4, but. So that's a really good exercise to work on your muting. And then the other major thing to work on is your intonation. So being able to play in tune. That's what's cool about slide is it gives you the notes and the sound in between the frets, which we don't always have. The downside to that, though, is if you're not right on the money, things can sound sloppy and out of tune. So right there, that note is in tune. But if I go just, a fraction of an inch one way or another, I start to go out of tune. So yeah, lots to work on, but that's it.
Got some more donations. Thanks, James Dean Anderson. He says, thanks for the content. I love that you push your favorite local guitar shop too. Small stores are the most honest stores. Thank you. We got another donation from Thomas Moore. He says, I have the Pod Go. Which would be better for live gigging, an AxeFx or a Stomp? Can I use the Stomp just for effects, or is it a full deal, like the amp and everything?
Yeah, I could, of those two, I would say probably the Stomp is a better all-around buy because you can totally just use the Stomp on its own. It can be an effects processor. You don't have to do any amp modeling with it. You can just use it for effects. Conversely, you can use it just as an amp model and use outboard effects. Run your pedals into it or use the effects loop on board. I love the Stomp for that reason. It's super versatile. It covers a lot of ground. In fact, mine comes with me. The few gigs I have done this year, the Stomp comes with me always as my backup rig. Occasionally, I will use it to gig with, but if an amp were to go down, I can pull the Stomp out, plug my board into it, and I'm back up and running in a matter of minutes. Or if my pedal board goes down, I have a profile set in it where it's just my basic effects that I need, and so I can just pull the Stomp out, throw it on the floor, and keep the gig going. It's a really, really great piece of kit.
Kevin Stevenson says, after watching your last video, I realized I needed to study sixth voicings. Can you give us a little overview?
Yeah. In fact, we actually... we did talk about it in the last video. I had a brain fart for a moment and couldn't remember if we had posted that video or not. It's like, yeah, we put that up yesterday.
Well, yeah, he said after watching your last video.
Yeah, context clues. Let's see. So if I switch to a guitar that's not in open E, let's see if we're in tune here. Yeah. All right. So, generally when I'm thinking about sixths, so a good way to practice it is to let a string like A, for example, let your A string ring out. And then your first sixth voicing can start right here around this A major, right? Just get rid of... And you're essentially following the major scale up the neck for each individual string, right? So... right? right? So on and so forth. They're really useful for getting around the neck. So if I think of like the solo I played on Hell or High Water, technically it's in B flat, but for this demonstration we'll play it A. So there I'm using the 6 voicing to outline the D. Then up to like a sus4. And then from there it lands on that A and I'm going. Alright, looks like our crackling issue is back again. Alright. Well, we're going to deep dive into that by next week and try and get that sorted.
Some people are saying it's just on my mic, so maybe it is that.
Maybe it is the
clocking issue.
4710 clocking thing. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, Creston Hetzel. He says that I missed his super chat from earlier. So if you just tag Rhett, at Rhett, and ask the question again.
Sorry about that, Creston. We'll get to it right here.
We got a super chat from Gabriel Peterson. He says, "Do you think the H6 can substitute a good recording interface?"
Well, I mean, depends on your definition of good recording interface. Is it going to work better than an Apollo? No, but it is a great all-around tool. If you're looking for sort of one thing to use, the H6 is phenomenal. I love my H6. It goes with me basically everywhere. It's a great field recorder. You can use it as an interface. I ran my first season of my podcast just on the H6. The preamps don't have a ton of headroom. You have to be really careful with that. They will break up and clip pretty easily, and obviously because they're digital, they don't sound good when they clip. So you do have to watch the preamps, but it's phenomenal, man. Plug it up via USB to a laptop or whatever, and you've got a 6-input interface that sounds good. It does what it needs to do. It's not going to have any any DSP or signal processing like an Apollo will, but it's not what it's designed to do.
Yeah. He also says, "Have you tried the Fuzz right pedal?"
I've not tried the Fuzz right pedal. No.
Okay, Gary A. He says, thanks for the donation, Gary. He says, "Rhett, can you please tell me if I have to have bias on all tube amps?" The answer seems to be all over the place. I want to change them on my cheap monotone 5-watt.
Okay, so I'm assuming you are meaning, do you need to bias your amps? And when you're changing tubes, yes, you should rebias your amps. It's just a good practice. It's a bit almost like checking your tire pressure or something before a big trip. You can rebias your amp to be a little hotter, a little colder. It's going to change the gain structure. It's going to change how the amp breaks up. But yeah, I would learn how to check the bias on your amp. A lot of newer amps, like this Victory Sheriff right here next to me, actually has bias test points on the back, which are super handy. So you can just take your multimeter and plug it into the back. You don't have to crack the chassis open and everything. Word of warning, though, to anyone listening or watching, tube amps are super dangerous. Don't go breaking open your tube amp and sticking your hands in there. There's those capacitors can carry enough charge even when the amp is off to really put you on your ass. So don't do that. But learning how to bias an amp is a pretty good process. And if you're not, or it's an important thing to do. And if you're not super keen on working on your amps, like I'm not, that's something that a local amp tech or a local shop should be able to do for you.
So we got a donation from Milton Torres.
I know Milton.
Thank you, Milton.
Milton.
He's coming in with the $49.99 over here. Some cash for the studio build. Can't wait to hear everything that comes out of it. Thank you.
Yeah. Milton is the sort of producer and editor behind the scenes of Dipped in Tone. And so Milton runs a mixing and recording business out of South Dakota called Blue Feather Recording, right, Milton? So if you need podcasts edited and mixed, or you have songs that need to be mixed or mastered, Milton can do that for you. So there you go.
Michael Hudson, thanks for the donation. He says, any ideas for the console/control surface you'll use in the studio?
Yeah, we were talking about this a little bit earlier. Right now I'm looking at the SSL Origin for a new desk, or possibly a vintage desk, a Trident 80C. There's two of them available for sale right now. One's on Reverb and one's on Vintage King. There's some advantages, pros and cons either way. Vintage desk versus new desk, vintage desk kind of has the vibe. It's got the story behind it. Downsides are it takes a lot to maintain. It's like having an old car. It's always going to need some kind of work. New desk is modern. It's efficient. It's new. Doesn't produce that much heat. Comes with a warranty, which is a huge selling point, honestly. And yeah, I mean, it's an SSL, can't go wrong with an SSL.
Got a donation in from Kevin. He says, any tips on an off-brand 10 to 15 watt point to head or combo?
And let's make sure we grab Daniel here. Super chat sent earlier. Will the Backstage channel make a return? So we'll get to Daniel in just a second. So, what was that question?
He says, any tips on an off-brand 10 to 15 watt point-to-point head or combo amp? He's interested in a Princeton AC-15.
Off-brand.
Yeah, off-brand.
Well, I'm assuming you mean something like a boutique brand, or off-brand. It depends on your budget. There's a ton of companies that do that like AC-15 thing, and essentially, when people talk about point to point, I think what most people are referring to when they say that is like a hand wired amp. There are some differences between like turret board construction, point to point construction, hand wired construction. All of the above, though, are going to be hand built, and hand built alternatives to PCB or printed circuit board amps. Which to me, I always prefer to have a hand wired amp over a PCB, primarily for serviceability reasons. Amplifiers are old technology, even though it's a new product. They will need service over their lifespan, and it's much easier to service a hand wired amp than it is a printed circuit board. It's not impossible to service PCB amps, but it is easier. In terms of off-brand recommendations, I would check out some Dr. Z stuff. I don't know exactly what in the Dr. Z lineup would get you into that. Maybe a Maz 18 would be cool. The Morgan AC20. I have an AC20 Deluxe that I've used for years and love it. God, there's so many amps out there. But he said AC15 and Princeton.
Yeah.
Milkman amps are incredible. They do that Fender thing really, really well. Or if you're feeling keen and feeling up to it, you could always get an amp kit and build the amp yourself. Get an amp kit from Mojo Tone or from Stumac, and build the amp yourself with a small, simple circuit like that, like a Champ. It's a pretty easy build to do yourself, and it's pretty cost effective too. The kits are a few $100s. And you end up with a hand-wired amp that you hand-wired yourself with really good components, and you learn a little bit in the process. So maybe try that out. All right, and we had Daniel. Let's see, what was Daniel? When is the Backstage Journal tour vlog coming back? Man, it's the thing about those videos is I can only make those videos when I'm on the road and touring, and because of COVID, I haven't really toured for coming up on 2 years. The last major tour I did was with Noah Guthrie and Good Trouble in the Netherlands in December of 2019. We did 10 shows, 11 shows in the Netherlands, and that is the last tour I've been on. And so when I'm not gigging and I'm not playing, those videos can't really get made because that's what they're about. So I think I am going to try and do one or a couple of videos about the session coming up in a few weeks. But yeah. Also, for those of you just joining, we have a few. Actually, we should check. Do we have any more of those coupons left? There's a few of the 50% off coupons for the Nashville Number System course left. Once those are gone, you can get 25% off the course.
So the code for 50% off is 50 today, and the code for 25% off is Stream25.
Yeah, and those are linked in the description box down below. And in the chat, my lovely wife Tele is in the chat, dropping the links. So get those 50% off coupons while you can.
So Tom S says, how's the studio build going? Run into any hiccups? Any books out there that you can recommend to get knowledge on building one?
No books. I'm not much one for book learning myself. So I don't know of any books off the top of my head. We've hit a few snags, which were expected on a big project like this. You know, when you're renovating a space in a home, especially an older home like this house was built in 74. So when you're renovating an older home like this, you're going to run into issues. One big one we ran into was the hot water heater. We have to move all of the mechanicals because right now they're basically in the middle of the live room. And that's the noise that's happening in the background right now. We have HVAC guy here moving our furnace. So yeah, one big snag we ran into was the house came with like a brand new hot water heater. It was like a year old. And originally the plan was just to move it, like unplug everything, have the plumber move it to another room, to a storage room that's out of the live room. But we found an issue with a vent that was too big, and it's a whole story. I won't bore everyone with the details, but what was going to be a $1,500 job to move a hot water heater turned into a $4,500 job because in order to move it to the new room, we had to go with a tankless hot water heater because of the venting system. We couldn't vent the old one in the new space. It was a whole deal. So that set the build back a little bit. That was an expense we weren't anticipating. So yeah, and there will no doubt be more of those to come. But the actual build itself so far has gone pretty well. We haven't hit a whole lot of snags to speak of there. So yeah.
We have another missed super chat. Wondering if you could share an aha moment or realization that helped glue music theory together for you.
Triads up and down the neck. More specifically, something like the caged system was a big one for me. But when I learned how to play a chord progression, anywhere on the neck, in just about any position, you know, that was a big moment for me. Being able to move around and move between different positions on the neck was really big in terms of, you know, and I think that answer kind of throws some people off sometimes because maybe they're expecting some like big, like, oh man, the Hungarian minor scale. Like when I learned that, it completely changed my life. It's like, no, it's really simple. Learn your triads and know them up and down the neck in all positions, every which way from Sunday. And that will do a lot for you as a guitar player. It'll do a lot for helping you understand the fretboard. That's actually what we spent a lot of Fretboard Fundamentals talking about, was triads and their positions on the neck. So yeah.
Yeah, we got another donation. Thanks, Joel. He says, live scenario. You or another musician are soloing out of the song and you land in a new sonic space. How do you make the most of it?
Soloing out of the song.
Yep.
Land in a new sonic space. How do you make the most of it?
So basically, like, I think what he's saying is like you found yourself in an unexpected musical scenario. How do you make the most of it?
Well,
how do you specifically, Rhett?
I just try something. Like, okay, for me, this is where I like to lean on effects and pedals. Because we did this a lot during Backstage Live last year with DEACON KNIGHT, where we would be improvising and then Jamie or Phil or somebody would take it to a completely different space. And in that moment, it's almost permission to try something completely out there and wild and just throw something against the wall and see if it sticks. So that's why I like having things like octave fuzz on my board, being able to roll down the volume on an octave fuzz and get that really crazy, almost ring modulation sound, or throw on a really cool reverb and play around with that, or a really interesting delay sound and use that as part of the instrument. That's a big one for me. Yeah, use some effects, step out, and just trust your gut, you know?
Yeah, trusting your gut is the big one, I think. And just knowing, like you were talking about the triads, just knowing everything that you know, just like as many possible ways as you can know it, you know? Yeah. And that way, when you're in that moment, you're not even having to think about it. You're just trusting yourself, and you're trusting like the process that you've gone through, you know?
Yeah, trust the process, man. It's all about you just gotta feel the vibe, dude. It's about vibes. I'm gonna light another stick of incense.
The vibe is the most important part of it all, you know? Yeah, you don't have vibe on stage.
Yeah, if you're not vibing, like, what are you even really doing, you know? If it's not about the vibe, what is it even about, man?
Not about triads, man. It's about the vibe.
Yeah, man. Triads are just like an avenue to the vibe, you know? Like, that's really what it is. That's all I learned in school was just like vibe.
Vibe lessons, vibe class.
Yeah, just vibe. That's it. Univibe, vibrato, other types of vibe.
Good vibrations.
Vibraphone,
yeah.
Yeah, man.
Vibralux.
Yeah, man.
When all else fails, hit the wah-wah pedal.
And we just watch the viewer count like, okay, well, that's enough for me. Oh, man. Chicks.
Bearded egg. Nice.
Oh, this is a good one. Eric Bailey asks, what's your favorite fuzz face still in production? I have it right here. Jam Pedals fuzz phrase. This is their custom shop one, the fancy one. This one has the nice parts in it, but their production version of this is also very, very good. I really, really love this one a lot. And this has the thing on the back where, hold on, get an ASMR stream going on. So on their custom shop pedals, they have the zipper on the back. And you can see the components inside the board there. Pretty sick. Yeah, Jam Pedals fuzz phrase.
Cool. Frank asks, if I'm a beginner, should I take the Fretboard Fundamentals or go with the Nashville Number System since it is discounted?
Oh, that's a good question. They kind of interweave together. They cover some of the same ground from a beginner's perspective in terms of getting your understanding of the major scale and some basic triads and basic harmony down. I would say Fretboard Fundamentals was designed to give you a more comprehensive understanding of it. But either one would work. But if I had to pick one, I would push you towards Fretboard Fundamentals. Fretboard Fundamentals is also on sale this week, by the way. If you go to my video from yesterday, there's a 30% off coupon for that. I can't remember what it is, though.
I can't remember either. What kind of music are you going to be playing in Germany?
Ooh. So, Phil Conrad and I are going over to play for a very good friend of ours named Thijs. His artist name is Roofman. He's from the Netherlands. And his sound is very indie rock. Like very, very like lo-fi. Some of the stuff is Tom Petty-esque, which is amazing. Neil Young-esque, but we're going to be live tracking everything to tape, old school. We're going to be at Clouds Hill Recording in Hamburg, Germany, doing an old school analog session. So the first like week and a half, I believe, of the session, we're going to be basically rehearsing, like we would be playing a live show, learning the songs, getting parts down, and then we'll spend the second half of the session in the studio tracking everything to tape live in the room. But yeah, musically, it's very indie rock, upbeat, sort of Petty-esque. Yeah, I'm excited. It's gonna be sweet.
Yeah, Shane says, love the shirt. How did you meet Tyler?
Actually, at Rick Beato's place, they came and worked on a record there. God,
Tyler Bryant.
Yeah, 7-8 years ago, something like that. I met Tyler and Noah and Graham and Caleb, and just kind of kept up with them through the years. After they left for that session, I didn't see them or talk to them for a few years until I was on the Joe Bonamassa Blues Cruise with Muddy Magnolias, and they were on the cruise with us, and we caught up that week. And since then, Tyler's become a great friend, and Caleb Crosby, the drummer, he and his wife Rachel have become really close friends with Tele and I, and they just had a baby, so mazel tov, congratulations. And then same thing with Graham. I got to see Tyler and Graham here in Atlanta a few weeks ago, opening for Miles Kennedy. It was great. That's where I bought the shirt. So, yeah, they're great people, really good friends. Can't recommend them enough.
Ultra Paradoxical says, when you record, how much do you edit your guitar tracks?
Very little. I never time align anything. I never move stuff around. I'll do a little bit of EQ and some mixing, but generally it's just tracked straight in, and that's the thing. So yeah, very, very little editing going on. Just in general, like my workflow when it comes to recording and producing and writing is very little editing. I like to capture what happened in the moment and then move on. That's why I don't work well in the box. I'm a terrible drum programmer. I hate programming MIDI. I just won't do it. If it comes down to like me trying to program a MIDI piano or keys part, or just hiring someone to come in and play it, I will do that 100% of the time because I'm terrible at it. I have no interest in getting good at programming MIDI. I would rather just track someone who's really good, who knows what they're doing, because the song's gonna be better that way. That's how it works, you know?
Yeah. King Rogers, thanks for the donation. He says, I'll be going on tour from February to May. What should my focus be as far as gear and productive essentials? He's a guitarist. Yeah,
dude, that's a long run. That'll be fun. Focus be as gear and productive essentials. All right, well, first of all, you need redundancy and reliability in terms of your gear. So that means backups of a few things. You need extra cables. You need soldered patch cables. Please God. You need extra cables. You need extra like consumables, things that are going to go bad on the road. You need extras. I would bring, I don't know what your setup is in terms of guitar and amp and all that stuff, but if you're running a tube amp, you need extra tubes. You need fuses. You need a backup of every type of tube in your amp. Bring one. You need 3 or 4 fuses for the amp. And then in terms of productive essentials, I like to travel with like a tech box, which is like a small Pelican case or something on wheels that goes with me into the venue. And in that box, I've just got a bunch of essential stuff. I've got extra cables. I've got stuff to change strings. I've got some tools to, if I need to work on my guitars or adjust something, or I need to open the back of an amp, there's a screwdriver. There's all kinds of stuff in that tech box that just goes with me everywhere. And it goes in the trailer, it goes in the van, under the bus, whatever.
Got your Elmer's glue sticks and stuff.
Yeah, and pro tip,
and
if
markers.
you're in the States, go to Harbor Freight and get one of the Apache cases. They're the Pelican knockoff cases, but they're the same sizes as the Pelicans. So if you get like a Trek Pack system or the Pelican foam or whatever, it'll fit in the Apache case, but the Apache case is like a third of the price of the Pelican case. And they're pretty good. Pretty good.
Thanks to Ifar Jez. He says, how do you deal with and when your guitar gets any kind of like wear or dents on it?
Don't care.
I mean, look at the guitar you're holding right now. Look at that.
To be fair, I bought this like this. But like going back to the Titlecaster, that's a good example. So this guitar, again, sorry about the noise.
Construction work downstairs.
Yeah. So this guitar is not relict or aged. It is pristine and pretty and new, but it won't stay like that. It's going to get dinged up. It's going to get scratched. That's part of it. That's part of having a guitar. It's part of playing it. You don't want to abuse your instruments by any stretch of the imagination, but you use it. Don't be precious about it. Don't be afraid of it, and take care of it. But don't be afraid. If it gets a mark or a dent or a ding, is what it is, man. Especially if it came from a gig. Like if you got it, like there's a scratch or a ding or something that happened on a show, that's cool. That's like part of the guitar's story. I have some guitars like that where it's like there's a chunk of paint missing or something. It's like, oh yeah, I remember where that happened. That was on this show with these people. It's cool.
Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, when I was maybe like 9 or 10 years old, I got a like a knockoff Stratocaster for Christmas one year. It was like one of my first electric guitars that was, actually, not a first act, right? And the day I got it, I was playing it, I had it on a strap, fell off the strap onto my like concrete basement floor and got a huge just like chunk taken out of it. Just the day I got it.
I did that last year. This is embarrassing. Grab the blue Strat in there.
Okay.
I've never showed this, but I was so embarrassed. Last year, Fender sent me one of the American Pro 2 Strats. Yep, that one. And literally, the second day I had it, I was working on a video, and I set it because I had to move the camera. This is before I had Chris working for me, so it was just me and I had to move all the cameras for different shots. So I took this guitar and I stood up to move the camera, and I just set it like this in the chair. And as soon as I turned my back to it, it slipped out of the chair and hit the ground and just knocked that huge chunk of finish off right there. And this is a polyurethane finish, so it's chipped. It doesn't like crack or whatever like a nitro finish does. And I felt so bad. It landed like this and then fell face forward on the ground. It just made the worst clanging, awful noise ever. But to Fender's credit, I dropped the shit out of it, and it was a little out of tune, but I tuned it back up, and it's been fine. Nothing's been wrong with it that I know of.
Yeah, mine was like a big dent like that, except just right under the input jack, when it falls and just slams the ground.
Yep. Yeah,
I was heartbroken.
Yeah, I was kind of upset, and I felt bad too, because it was like this nice new guitar that Fender sent out, and it was, so Fender, if you're watching this, I'm sorry, but whatever.
So we got a donation from Sneaky Toaster. I'm gonna have you read that one because I don't understand it. I've read it several times.
Okay. Panning with stereo Kemper rig / rehearsing at home, looking for a new interface that allows panning left and right outside the track mix. Your matchless Lightning 15 is meant. Thanks, man. All right, so you are probably looking for an interface that allows for some kind of control outside of your DAW, right? Some kind of interface that has... here's what I would do. Looking for a new interface that allows panning outside the track mix. You should get a mixer. You should get a small mixer, like a little Behringer mixer or something like that, and run your Kemper into that, and then you can run that into your interface, and then you can monitor off of the mixer. And there you can do your panning and all your stuff there. That's how I would do it.
Yeah. So we should plug the course again. Got some discounts going.
Yeah. All right, so let's see here. I can't tell if we're out of the 50% off coupons or not.
I think we might be. Someone said theirs didn't work.
Okay, so no more 50% off, unfortunately, but you can still get 25% off the Nashville Number System course via, what's the discount code?
Stream25 is the code.
Stream25 is the code. Get 25% off the Nashville Number System course, and that'll run as long as this video is live. So there you go. Well, as long as it's up on YouTube, not just live.
Yeah. Wings, he says, I can't manage to get pinch harmonics. Any recommendations?
Yeah, man, you just gotta. What you gotta do is, so you kick on your overdrive, push the gain up as high as it'll go, and then you just. There you go.
Why don't you always play like that?
You're welcome. Okay, no, I typically don't do pinch harmonics, but for me, it's. Let me think. How do I actually do it? Like. All right, so where I hold it is, if I'm trying to do a pinch harmonic, which is usually only as a joke, but I choke down on the pick like that, and so I'm pushing the pick back up against my thumb, and then the very leading edge of the pick is hitting the string almost exactly at the same time as that part of my thumb right there. That I don't know what do you call that? The edge of your thumb? Jesus Christ. some kind of anatomy.
So, yeah, just put the left of your thumb. You know?
Yeah, put the left of your thumb against the string. And so, yeah, what you're trying to do is get some part of your finger to touch the pick at the same time that you're picking the string, and you want to kind of dig in a little bit.
Or touch the string after your pick hits it, right?
There you go. Sounds like damn ZZ Top over here. God, it sounds terrible. But that's the thing is everyone's hand shape and anatomy is different.
Yeah.
So what works for me might not work for you. But yeah, you want some part of your hand to touch the string about the same time that you're picking the note. And there you go. You can squeak all you want.
Yeah, I've got like pretty skinny thumbs, and I have such a hard time doing pinch harmonics. I can't do it.
Everybody show your thumbs.
Look at that. Look at that.
Let's look at our thumbs here.
Show that off.
Who's
right
got
there.
the best thumb for pinch harmonics? There's mine.
And like just the way I hold my pick and the angles and everything, like I just can't do them. I've always, you just try and it just fails because jazz, there's a lot of pinch harmonics going on in there.
Dude, if you're not squealing, you're not doing it right when you're playing jazz. If your guitar is not going,
I think it's like similar. You know how like Victor Wooten or like Jocko does that like double octave like harmonic? I think that's the same thing.
Yeah.
I think that technically is like a pinch harmonic.
So there you go.
So it's just an extra high harmonic. I don't know.
So play like Jocko.
Play like Jocko. That's all you got to do.
That's it.
Easy.
Easy.
All
there
right.
you go.
Brent Porter coming in with a donation. Thanks, Brent. He says, live, how do you handle multiple guitars into one amp? I can set up my guitars to sound great, but the settings are pretty different to handle them.
Okay, for a second, I was picturing him playing multiple guitars into one amp simultaneously, like he and his other guitar player were sharing an amp. I was like,
oh,
don't do that.
Yeah, that'd be weird.
All right, well, that's actually a great question. So typically, if I've got two guitars on a gig, which I always do, I take two for redundancy reasons and for tone reasons. I usually have a single coil guitar, whether it be P90s or Tele or Strat or whatever, and then a humbucker guitar. But I actually don't really change the amp that much because the reason I have the two guitars is because I want them to hit the amp differently and to do a different thing altogether. So I will try and set the amp up for a happy medium to where, with humbuckers, it's not too muddy, it's not too mid-rangey, it's not too overdriven. And then with single coils, it's not too thin, it's not too mid-scoop, something that kind of works for both situations. And then that's it. I'll just swap guitars and they both sound good. You can, if you have a big difference in output, like let's say you have a Les Paul that's got super hot PAFs in it or something like that, and then you go to a Strat that's low output, you may have like a difference in volume from your amp and a difference in gain. And for that, I might keep a boost or something on my board or an EQ pedal on my board that is specifically for that guitar. So you could switch that guitar, kick on that pedal, and get your tone set how you want it for that guitar. But yeah.
Matthew Carlson, he says, do you ever plan on getting a wireless system? If so, which one?
No, I don't.
Which one do you don't plan on getting?
I would never get the... No, here's the deal. It used to make me laugh being on like a church gig or something, or a bar gig, or a small club, and seeing guitar players. The biggest one was church gigs. If you're playing a church gig, you don't need a wireless rig for your guitar. You don't need it. It's adding a layer of complexity to your setup, and it's not giving you any benefit. In my mind, a wireless rig is for somebody who is... Phil X is a great example of a player that needs a wireless guitar rig. He's on stage with Bon Jovi. They're playing massive stages with a 300-foot ego ramp, and he's all over the stage. He's running down the ego ramp and playing and soloing. That's who needs a wireless rig. I'm not that type of player. My friend Tyler Bryant. Tyler utilizes a wireless rig because if you've ever seen them, he is all over the stage, and it's part of his show. It's part of how he plays guitar. If you're playing a church gig and you're walking out to your pedal board and you're playing 3 songs or 4 songs in front of your pedal board and then you're walking backstage, do not buy a wireless rig. I think it's a huge waste of money. I think it's adding a layer of complexity to your rig, and just most times, unless you're spending serious money on a really good wireless system, a cable sounds better. You know, wireless, the best you can hope for with a wireless system is that it sounds as good as your cable. Just use a cable. There you go.
There you go.
There it is. Hot take. I'm anti-wireless.
Smoking fiery hot take right there.
It's like, maybe my thing could be like those weird 5G conspiracy theorists. I could be that, but for guitar wireless systems.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to be
maybe that's my new thing.
I mean, guitar wireless systems make you forget all your chops. They erase all your musical memory.
They do. They do. Oh my God.
Nicholas Miller, he says he's going to Nashville in a few weeks for the first time. What are some shops to check out?
Oh man, Nick Miller. Loved you in New Girl. Shops. Okay. Several. Carter Vintage, best all-around guitar store there. I love Carter Vintage. You got to go see Gruen's Guitars and Rumble Seat. They're basically all right there on 8th Avenue. So you can just go from, if you're coming from downtown, you'll hit Carter's first, then you'll hit Rumble Seat, and then a little bit further down is Gruen. Those are all worth seeing. I would make time to go into all those shops. They're really cool. East Side Music Supply up on Gallatin in East Nashville, just south of Inglewood. Awesome shop. Just bought a couple pedals from them not too long ago. Best pedal selection in Nashville. They're super cool. That's where we went. We bought the Von Gun.
Yeah, the Von Gun was from there.
Yeah, the Von Gun was from there.
I love that pedal.
I know.
You just let me borrow it. I just used it.
Yeah, the Von Gun Ultra Shear. It's
so good.
It's a vibe, dude.
Talk about vibe, man.
Oh, my incense is out. I need to light another stick of incense.
To get more vibe in there?
Yeah, we run out of vibe here. The other shop I would tell you to check out is Third Man Records. Jack White's place down there. Really, really cool shop. And there's actually some cool guitar stuff down there. He's basically any of the Jack White signature pedals they've done with like Copper Sound. That's where you buy those. They're all there. And so if you're a Jack White fan like I am, it's worth the pilgrimage. They've also got a really great vinyl selection there. So yeah. Where else? I feel like I'm forgetting someone. No, I think that's it. Carter, Gruen, Rumble Seat, Third Man, Eastside Music Supply.
Nice.
In whatever order makes sense for you.
Subi says pinch harmonics sound better when transmitted through 5G. Everything does. Everything always
Somebody
does.
make that meme of the aliens guy, but put my face on it and say like wireless, I don't know, something wireless on it.
Wireless rigs.
Yeah, the Line 6 wireless rig.
That's your next thumbnail.
There it is. Or what's next here?
Ooh, Eric Clapton or Jimmy Page?
Jimmy Page. And with the exception of Clapton and Cream era Clapton, which is peak Clapton to me, would give Page a run for his money. But I think just as a general thing, I prefer Page over Clapton. You know?
Yeah.
Like, that is such a beautiful... I mean, come on. There's few guitar players that have ever lived that are equivalent to Jimmy Page as a writer. And the parts that he would come up with, amazing.
Yeah. Also, we can't forget Vintage King up in Nashville. Forgot that.
That's it.
That's the one.
But
Vintage
they just
King.
moved, so I haven't been to their new shop yet. Their new shop is in East Nashville, actually. Apparently, they're right up near Grimey's. Grimey's is another shop we're checking out. It's a record store, but Grimey's up in East Nashville. It's right there next to Eastside Music Supply. So... if you're going to Nashville, here's Rhett's Nashville recommendations. As someone who spent half of their life over the last 6 years in Nashville, stay in East Nashville. Don't stay downtown. Don't stay in the Gulch. Or 12 South. It's a just proverbial hellscape of bachelorette parties. It really sucks. Downtown Nashville sucks.
The Tractors, man.
Dude, it's
Tractors.
awful. They've gotten the pedal taverns and all this shit. They've got to fix that. If you're going to Nashville, get an Airbnb on the east side, East Nashville. I'd recommend like Laughlin Springs. I'd recommend Inglewood. Somewhere around East Nashville. Nashville's small. It's easy to get around. You can get from one side of town to the other in 10 minutes. Yeah, stay on the east side. If you have to go see Broadway, go see Broadway. I don't recommend it. It sucks. It's becoming like Bourbon Street in New Orleans. It's gross. The bars aren't cool. With the exception of Acme Feed and Seed. Acme is a really cool venue. It's right on the end of Broadway towards the river. And there's always like some cool gigs and stuff going on down there at Acme Feed and Seed. But yeah, avoid downtown, avoid the Gulch. The Gulch is where, if anybody's seen those pictures of all the chicks lined up around the corner to take pictures in front of that big wing mural. Have you seen this?
No.
Dude. Oh my God. I don't know where to look it up right now, but there's this mural on the wall, and it's just painted like angel wings that are huge. It's like 2 stories tall. And it's become a thing that, like, if you are a sorority girl or a bachelorette party and you're going to Nashville, you have to go to this one wall and get your picture taken in front of these wings. And it's
the rite of passage.
Dude, they line up like around the block and wait, I don't know, an hour or more to get their picture with these wings.
When you said wings, I really thought you meant chicken wings at first. Like, I really thought you were like...
No, they're like angel wings. They're like
and I was like,
giant angel wings painted, and you stand in the middle and they like take your picture.
Jacob Gann, thanks for the donation. He says, have you ever thought about using the overdrive of that Sub 37 for your guitar?
Ooh, I haven't. That could be kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's got the audio in. We could just plug into the Sub 30. I don't think we can do it right now because I'd have to pull up the track and everything, but that'd be sick.
Yeah. Tilly just sent you a message of the wings if you want to.
Oh, yes. There it is. All right. This is in the Gulch, okay? So if you're in Nashville.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's not what I was picturing at all.
Depending on the season and the time of day, you may see a gaggle of sorority girls lined up to get their picture in front of this wall right here, which is attached to a pretty good restaurant. I forget the name of the restaurant, but that's like the backside of a restaurant there that's pretty good. Oh, man. Nashville.
Thank you to Miguel Valadez for the donation. He says, got into offset guitars thanks to Dipped in Tone.
Hey, look at us. Putting some positive energy in the world. Winning people over one offset guitar. Kevin says, "Oh God, not the effing wings and the gulch." It's bad enough. So my friend works down there in the gulch. He works in entertainment management, and his agency is there in the gulch. And it's bad enough that like it causes serious traffic jams. The girls getting their pictures because the problem is what you can't see. All right. Now I'm going to turn this into a rant here. What you can't see. So where the person is standing, who's taking this picture, in between them and that wall is the exit ramp for a huge parking garage. So they're literally standing in the exits. So if you park in that garage, which you would if you're going downtown at the Gulch, and all the bachelorettes are out there lined up for their picture with the wings, it's like blocking traffic coming out of the parking garage. In that road right there, it gets totally blocked up.
Here, I thought it was the tractors pulling the parties along.
I mean, that's definitely part of the problem.
That was cool. I like that. I thought it was pretty cool.
Jesus Christ. The way you delivered that with such dry, yeah, it was cool, man. It was cool. The tractors blasting.
No one's gonna know. Bryant. No one's gonna know if I actually like it or not.
Maybe we should call you Broadway Chris.
That's no.
Party bus Chris.
No. Big miss on that. Matthew Graham. He says, "What are offset guitars?"
Oh, I'll show you. An offset guitar is any guitar that has a shape like this. Oops, sorry, I'm still in Chris Vision. Any guitar that has a shape like this, where essentially instead of being symmetrical here or symmetrical here in the lower bout, the guitar is basically twisted like this. It's offset. So if you compare that to like this Telecaster-ish shape right here, this guitar is not offset. This guitar is offset. So there you go. That's the difference.
Shout out, thanks Boozy Boo for the donation. They just have this awesome sticker that says thank you, and it's like a pear moving around. I don't know if you can see that.
I can see that. Love it.
Thanks for the donation.
Absolutely, man. Thank you. Have I thought about going to see Mick and Dan after your trip to the EU? I have, actually. I would love to go see those guys and do something with that pedal show. I don't know that I'm going to have time, unfortunately, while we're over there, but because we're going to be in Germany. I guess that's a pretty easy flight, right? Germany to London. But yeah. Nicholas Miller, thoughts on the Ventera Tele Custom I've seen in a few videos. It's a great guitar. It's a really, really great guitar. That guitar really hits above its weight class. Chris loves it. He's been playing it nonstop.
Oh, you're talking about the
Black Tele?
The deluxe one?
Yeah, that you played yesterday.
I love that guitar. That's a great guitar.
Yeah. Of all the guitars in here, there's two guitars that he will pick up first before anything else. One is my red Ceres T, which is the best sounding guitar in here. In terms of just sheer tone, the red Novo Ceres T.
Best playing.
It's the best playing guitar for sure. That guitar is in a league of its own. And then that Tele Custom in there, which is really good.
Well, because I don't have a Tele, and I want a Tele. And like my ideal Tele is like a vintage deluxe Tele, like the kind of like dark brown looking ones. I don't know how you call that.
Yeah, like the early 70s, like kind of walnut.
Yeah, with like the black pick guard and the maple neck. Like that's my ideal Tele, but I do not have ideal Tele money.
Well, and the thing is too, like with those 70s, oh Jesus, with those 70s Fenders, I've played a lot of them, and they're cool. They're not worth the money that the vintage market is asking for them. Just in terms of sheer playability and tone, they're not, in my opinion, they're not worth the money. I would go buy a Ventera Tele. To me, quality-wise and feel-wise, the Ventera feels better than a lot of those 70s Fenders do. They're lighter. The Venteras are lighter than a lot, because during that early to mid 70s CBS era Fender, they were just, a lot of the stuff they were putting out wasn't great. And there's some really heavy guitars and yeah. So if I were in the market, that's what I'd spend my money on. I'd save $2,000 or $3,000 and buy a Ventera over a 70s original one. So basically I'm saying is like, if you were looking at that Tele Deluxe versus a real original one, the only reason I would consider the original one is because it has the actual wide range humbucker in it, which have a different magnet in them than those do. And so the sound of the wide range is a little bit different.
Maybe I can just buy some vintage pickups and put them in there.
Well, they're not cheap.
Oh,
the vintage wide ranges are hard to find. Now, I think there's a company that's reissuing them, like that. I think it might be Throwback, actually. Somebody can correct me in the chat, but the alloy that they used for those magnets in the wide range humbuckers is really difficult to manufacture. But I think somebody's doing it. I think somebody's bringing it back. So
yeah, I mean, that was kind of my thought process. You know, I have that 175 copy,
yeah,
the Gibson copy. That was kind of my thought process with that, because I went to a bunch of guitar stores and played like 70s Gibson 175s, and they were not all great.
No, dude.
And they were all like, you know, above $3,500 or $4,000. You know.
Yeah, and I would not pay that for those.
I bought that Ventura. It's like a 76 Ventura, which is a Japanese brand. It was like $700, and it plays way better than any of the other ones I tried.
Yeah. Michael Kilfoy in the chat says the Creamery UK do a real wide range. Yeah, that's the thing, man. Like those Norland era Gibsons, which is around that time frame you're talking about, are they made some cool guitars in that time frame, but that was a very dark age for Gibson guitars. Yeah.
Right, we got some donations. Kenny Alvarez, he says multi-scale necks versus baritone versus 7 to 8 string guitars.
Oof.
I think I know your answer.
Baritone. In fact, we were just playing this one earlier. So one of the videos we're working on that Chris will be editing when I'm in Germany is a video about EQ, why you need an EQ pedal. And a perfect example is this baritone. This is a Revolta baritone. Stand by. Let me put this. Okay. This is a Revolta baritone, and it does the thing. All right, so it's cool. So I've got this Joyo EQ here on the floor that's EQ'd to kind of pull some of the mud out of this guitar and make it cut a little more. So that's what the EQ on, cutting out a lot of that super low mud, and then with it off. Yeah. So, I'd say a baritone for me personally.
Have you played any of the like fan fret stuff?
Yeah. I do really want an Abasi Concepts Larada 7-string, which it's my sort of anti-guitar in every way. It's a 7-string, super progressive fan fret guitar, but Rick has one that I played, and it's awesome. It's so cool. So I really want one, but it's on the list.
All right, we got some more donations from Jason Lindholm. He says, what's a good P90/single coil set for an offset Tele build?
Fralin. The Fralin P90s that Novo is using right now are really, really good. I like those a lot. If you can get a set of the Amalfitanos, that's what I have in my Ceres J, my pink sparkle Novo, and those are amazing. They're pretty high output. They're pretty hot. Something like that. Also, Brandon Wound Pickups does a really cool set of P90s that I've played before that I really like. You kind of can't go wrong, though, if I'm honest.
All right, we got another donation. Thanks, Chris K. He says, bro, I'm a huge fan. I'm not as quick to switch pickups or pedals as often as other players. I just change the way I'm playing. Does this make me a tone nub? Thoughts?
A tone nub?
I've never heard that term.
Man, I don't know. I mean, no. That's your style. That's your thing. That doesn't make you any less of a tone. What do you say, tone nub?
Tone nub, yeah.
No, it does not make you any less of a player or a tone nub or anything like that. I don't even know what tone nub means, but if that's your style and that's what you do, then by all means, man, that's your thing.
If you had to do that, like if you had one guitar and you couldn't switch your pickups or pedals as often, what would you do? Like if you had to
play it differently.
So no, I mean, like what guitar?
Oh well, the Solus, because that's a single pickup, and it's a Tele style. But yeah, I mean, you can get around like doing things like picking back closer to the bridge, for example. So if I just stay on the bridge humbucker here. Or switching to your fingers. All of that has a different feel, a different sound without having to change any settings. Yeah. So there you go.
Okay, Joel Morris, thanks for the donation. He says, thoughts on the Gibson ES350?
Don't know that I've ever played a 350.
To be honest, I've never seen that guitar. I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, I think you have seen it. It's one of those things that, and it's also kind of hard to keep the models straight sometimes. I don't know that I've ever played one. Yeah, I definitely haven't. But yeah, this is your thing, big jazz box. P90.
Oh, okay. Is it just one of those things where they change the model number depending on what pickups it has, that kind of thing?
Probably. I have played a 295 though. There was a 295, a vintage one at Rudy's Music in New York a couple of years ago that I played, and that was cool. That's a guitar I would own. A gold top 295, like a 53. Look at that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
That guitar has vibe, dude. That guitar vibes.
Thanks, Tomas Croth, for the donation. He says, which budget guitar have you played that kicked much higher than its price point?
Oh, man. Squier Affinity Series, I would say that's a really solid guitar for the money. The new Epiphone stuff that I've played, some of the Les Pauls that I've played have been really good. Since they sort of redid Epiphone, I would say that's really good. The Gretsch Streamliner series. That's it. That's the answer to the question. Those Gretches that they have down at Atlanta Discount Music, those guitars have no business being as affordable as they are. Like $350 to $500 for a semi-hollow 335-esque style guitar, you could easily charge $1,000 for those guitars, I think, and people would pay for them. But those Gretsch, I think it's called the Streamliner series or something like that.
I've seen you pick up those a lot.
Yeah,
at stores.
We looked at that when I bought. Oh, and that Dan Electro that I bought, the double cut Dan Electro that we used in the Nashville tuning video. That's another great guitar. That guitar is one of the best playing guitars I've owned. In terms of playability and feel, it's it's as good as any Fender or Gibson that I've played, and it was $300. Now it feels different. It doesn't feel like a Les Paul or a Strat, but out of the box set up. Now mine was used, so it could have been set up by somebody, but that guitar the NOS Plus, I think is the model number on that, or the model name, and it's super good. All those are good options. Specifically though, those Gretsch Streamliners and those Dan Electro NOS series are super good. They sound good. They play good. They're easy to mod. Those Gretches, they look like Filtertrons, but they're not. They're humbuckers, so you can drop any humbucker in there you want. So, all right, cool. We'll take a couple more questions here, and we're going to sign off. One last plug for the Nashville Number System course. I believe we're out of the 50% off coupons, but you can still try for 50% off the tone or the Nashville Number System course. What's the code, Chris?
50 today is the code. We may be out of those though. And the code for 25% off is Stream25.
Yeah, so get 25% off the Nashville Number System course this week. All right, cool. Let's take one or two more questions here.
So Adrian Clark, he says, as someone who went to school for music, how often would you say you use music theory while playing? Do you consciously think it, or is it just unconscious for you at this point?
A little bit of both. I don't consciously think about theory. I don't think about like, oh, I want to play this sound, so I'm going to switch to this mode and use these notes and this scale. But I do think about keys. I do think about, again, triads are a big thing for me. Major and minor pentatonic is a big thing for me. That's most of my playing is based around. But that's really about it. I don't really use theory as a way to create ideas. I know a lot of people do, and they do it with great success. That's just not how I've done it.
Yeah, I feel like personally, I try to do all my thinking before I play with anybody. If you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to think about it.
Yeah, like practicing is like thinking about all this stuff and kind of chewing through it, and then once you actually go play with somebody, all of that can leave you. And you can just communicate musically with them,
Yeah, 100%.
All right, we got a couple more donations.
All right.
Jacob Sannez, he says, thoughts on carbon fiber acoustics?
I think they're cool. They sound better than you think they would. No pun intended. So I think it's a sustainable thing. There is a question about sustainability in guitar building in terms of woods and where you're sourcing the woods from, and certain hardwoods are becoming harder and harder to find because they're getting endangered, and so a composite guitar is sort of a way around that. You don't have to go cut down a forest to create some carbon fiber sheets. They don't have the exact same kind of sound as a nice like Sitka spruce top, rosewood back and sides sort of OM or Dreadnought, but they do have a unique sound and they sound cool. There's also the stability considerations as well. They tend to be way more stable to temperature and humidity change than a wood guitar is. Aesthetically, that's up to you. It's a subjective thing, but I think they're cool. Would I give up my acoustic for one? Probably not, but I could see owning one. I think it'd be, if you're traveling a lot, or if you live in a coastal area with lots of humidity or lots of seasonal change, I could see owning a carbon fiber guitar as a really good alternative to a wood guitar.
Yeah. James Burke, he says, what's up with Dipped in Tone? Thanks for the donation, James.
Thanks, James. Dipped in Tone is coming back this week. We have 2 episodes in the bank, and we're going to be doing a 3rd here shortly. The studio build really threw us off, threw all of our production schedule off for everything. Dipped in Tone, my YouTube channel, everything got thrown off by the studio build. So we're getting back to it. It has not gone anywhere. we're not ending the podcast. And I appreciate everyone asking about it because it means people are enjoying the show. Thanks, Chris K, for the donation. And thanks to everyone for the questions and hanging out. I think this is a good hang.
Yeah.
Good Tuesday Q&A. Nice live hang. So we'll do this again next week. Thanks, everyone, for putting up with the sound in the background and the noise. Y'all are awesome. We will see you guys next Tuesday.